Have you ever wondered how our minds work when faced with challenges? How do we cope with anxiety, stress, or even mental health conditions? Welcome to Edu Insights, where we delve into the fascinating world of psychology and mental well-being. Today we're going to explore the intriguing concept of defense mechanisms. These are psychological strategies our minds employ, often unconsciously, to protect us from difficult emotions and situations. We'll be looking at how these mechanisms manifest in conditions like OCD, schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, and even sexual dysfunction. Think of a time when you felt overwhelmed. Did you try to rationalize the situation, avoid it altogether, or maybe even channel your energy into something else entirely? These are all examples of defense mechanisms in action, and understanding them can be incredibly empowering. Defense mechanisms are a natural part of the human experience. They can help us navigate tough times or hinder our growth and well-being. Today we'll explore these mechanisms in mental health challenges, from OCD managing intrusive thoughts to schizophrenia coping with hallucinations and bipolar disorder during manic and depressive episodes. Understanding these mechanisms fosters empathy and support. Let's embark on this journey together. Let's begin our exploration with obsessive-compulsive disorder, often known as OCD. Now, OCD is characterized by recurring unwanted thoughts, images, or impulses known as obsessions. These obsessions cause significant anxiety and distress. To cope with this anxiety, individuals with OCD engage in repetitive behaviors or mental acts called compulsions. These compulsions, while seemingly illogical, provide temporary relief from the overwhelming anxiety brought on by obsessions. Imagine constantly worrying about germs and contamination. This persistent fear might lead to excessive hand-washing, sometimes to the point of causing physical harm. This is a classic example of how obsessions and compulsions intertwine in OCD. Remember, OCD is a complex condition, and its severity varies greatly from person to person. It's crucial to approach this topic with sensitivity and understanding. Now, how do defense mechanisms come into play in OCD? Well, individuals with OCD often utilize defense mechanisms to manage the intense anxiety triggered by their obsessions. One common defense mechanism is rationalization. People with OCD may attempt to justify their compulsions with elaborate, often illogical explanations. For instance, someone excessively cleaning their house might rationalize it by saying they're simply maintaining a high standard of hygiene. Another frequently employed defense mechanism is undoing. This involves performing rituals or mental acts to negate or cancel out the anxiety caused by obsessions. For example, someone who fears harming others might repeatedly count to 10 or touch certain objects to undo their intrusive thoughts. These are just two examples of how defense mechanisms manifest in OCD. It's important to note that while these mechanisms offer temporary relief, they don't address the root cause of OCD. Let's illustrate this with a relatable example. Imagine a young woman named Sarah who experiences intrusive thoughts about leaving the stove on and causing a fire. These thoughts terrify her, leading to immense anxiety. To combat this anxiety, Sarah develops a compulsion of checking the stove multiple times before leaving the house. Each time she checks, she feels a momentary sense of relief, only to be gripped by the fear again moments later. Sarah's constant checking is a defense mechanism, a way to manage her overwhelming anxiety. However, this behavior begins to consume her life, affecting her work and relationships. This example highlights how defense mechanisms, while offering temporary respite, can become problematic if they are not addressed in the context of the underlying OCD. Moving on, we delve into the intricate world of schizophrenia, a chronic mental health condition that affects how a person thinks, feels, and behaves. Schizophrenia is often misunderstood, shrouded in stigma and misconceptions. One of the hallmarks of schizophrenia is psychosis, a state characterized by a disconnect from reality. Now, this disconnect can manifest in various ways, including hallucinations. These are sensory experiences that appear real but are not. Imagine hearing voices or seeing things that others don't. These experiences can be incredibly vivid and distressing for someone with schizophrenia. Delusions. These are firmly held beliefs that are not based in reality. For instance, someone might believe they have superpowers or are being controlled by external forces. These beliefs can be unshakable, even when presented with contrary evidence. Schizophrenia is a complex and heterogeneous disorder, meaning its symptoms and severity vary greatly from person to person. How do defense mechanisms factor into the experience of schizophrenia? They serve as a psychological life raft, managing emotional distress. Denial is common, clinging to a safer version of reality. For instance, hearing voices might be dismissed as just the radio. Withdrawal is another mechanism, seeking refuge in isolation. These mechanisms offer a temporary shield against schizophrenia. A glimpse into schizophrenia and defense mechanisms. Meet David, living with schizophrenia. He hears voices that criticize him. David uses denial to cope. He convinces himself it's just noisy neighbors. This denial prevents him from seeking help. His world shrinks, increasing isolation. Section 4. Understanding and supporting schizophrenia. It is crucial to remember that schizophrenia, like any mental health condition, is best understood with empathy and compassion. The defense mechanisms employed by individuals with schizophrenia are not signs of weakness, but rather a testament to their resilience in the face of extraordinary challenges. By educating ourselves about schizophrenia and the role of defense mechanisms, we can foster a more supportive and understanding environment for those living with this condition. Remember, recovery is a journey, and with the right support, individuals with schizophrenia can live meaningful and fulfilling lives. Understanding the roller coaster of bipolar disorder. Bipolar disorder involves extreme shifts in mood, energy, and activity levels. These shifts are often described as a roller coaster ride. Periods of intense euphoria, known as mania, are followed by crushing lows of depression. During manic episodes, individuals might feel invincible and engage in risky behavior. During depressive episodes, the world feels bleak. There's a loss of interest in activities once enjoyed and overwhelming fatigue. Living with bipolar disorder is challenging for both the individual and their loved ones. Navigating the highs and lows of bipolar disorder. Individuals with bipolar disorder often employ defense mechanisms to cope with emotional turmoil. These mechanisms act as psychological shock absorbers during manic and depressive episodes. During manic phases, grandiosity is common. This involves inflated self-esteem and a belief in one's exceptional abilities. While it can provide euphoria, it can also lead to risky behavior. During depressive episodes, introjection involves internalizing negative beliefs. This can perpetuate feelings of worthlessness and hopelessness. Defense mechanisms protect from overwhelming emotions but can hinder recovery. Section 3. A glimpse into bipolar disorder and defense mechanisms. Let's meet Emily, a talented artist living with bipolar disorder. During her manic phases, Emily's creativity soars. She's full of energy, barely sleeping, and convinced she's on the verge of achieving international acclaim. However, her manic episode inevitably gives way to a depressive crash. The once boundless energy is replaced by crushing fatigue. Emily's story highlights the complex interplay between bipolar disorder and defense mechanisms. Section 4. Supporting individuals with bipolar disorder. Living with bipolar disorder is a daily challenge, a constant negotiation between the highs and lows of mood swings. It's essential to approach the condition with empathy, recognizing that defense mechanisms, while sometimes problematic, are often unconscious attempts to manage overwhelming emotions. By educating ourselves about bipolar disorder and the role of defense mechanisms, we can create a more supportive environment for those living with this condition. Remember, recovery is a journey, and with the right support, individuals with bipolar disorder can lead fulfilling and meaningful lives. Let's navigate a sensitive but crucial aspect of mental health: sexual dysfunction. It encompasses persistent difficulties during any stage of the sexual response cycle. These challenges can be emotionally distressing and impact intimate relationships. Imagine struggling with desire, arousal, or achieving orgasm. These struggles are more common than one might think. Remember, sexual dysfunction is not a sign of weakness. In the face of sexual difficulties, individuals often employ defense mechanisms to cope with the associated feelings of shame, inadequacy, and vulnerability. These mechanisms, while serving a protective function, can sometimes perpetuate a cycle of avoidance and distress. One common defense mechanism is repression. This involves unconsciously pushing away thoughts, feelings, or memories related to the sexual dysfunction. For example, someone struggling with low desire might avoid thinking about intimacy altogether, unconsciously suppressing their needs. Another frequently used defense mechanism is rationalization. Individuals might create seemingly logical explanations for their sexual difficulties, often blaming external factors or their partner to avoid confronting underlying emotional issues. For instance, someone might attribute their erectile difficulties to work stress, even when deeper relationship concerns are at play. Remember, these defense mechanisms, while understandable, can hinder communication and prevent individuals from seeking the help they need. Let's consider the story of Mark, who has been experiencing erectile difficulties. He feels a deep sense of shame and inadequacy, worried that he's not man enough for his partner. These feelings are incredibly painful, leading him to withdraw emotionally and physically from his partner. Mark starts making excuses to avoid intimacy, claiming he's too tired or stressed for sex. This avoidance, while seemingly protecting him from further hurt and rejection, actually pushes his partner away, creating a rift in their relationship. Mark's avoidance is a defense mechanism, a way to cope with the shame and fear associated with his sexual dysfunction. However, this avoidance only perpetuates the cycle of distress, preventing him from addressing the root cause of his difficulties. This example highlights how defense mechanisms, while offering temporary protection, can ultimately hinder intimacy and prevent individuals from seeking the support they need. Sexual dysfunction is a complex and deeply personal issue, often cloaked in silence and stigma. It's crucial to approach this topic with sensitivity, recognizing that defense mechanisms are often unconscious attempts to manage painful emotions. By fostering open and honest communication, we can create a safe space for individuals to share their experiences without fear of judgment. Remember, seeking professional help is a sign of strength, not weakness. With the right support, individuals can overcome sexual difficulties and cultivate fulfilling and intimate relationships. As we've journeyed through the intricate landscapes of OCD, schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, and sexual dysfunction, one common thread has emerged: the role of defense mechanisms. These psychological strategies, often employed unconsciously, serve as our mind's way of shielding us from emotional distress, anxiety, and overwhelming feelings. Think of defense mechanisms as mental armor, protecting us from the slings and arrows of challenging emotions. Just as a knight dons armor to navigate a battlefield, our minds utilize these mechanisms to navigate the complexities of life, especially when facing mental health challenges. However, it's crucial to remember that while defense mechanisms offer temporary protection, they can sometimes become barriers to recovery and growth. Imagine wearing heavy armor all the time. While it might shield you from harm, it also prevents you from fully experiencing the world and connecting with others. Understanding the role of defense mechanisms is not about labeling or judging ourselves or others. Instead, it's about cultivating self-awareness, empathy, and compassion. By recognizing these mechanisms at play, we can begin to understand our own responses to stress, anxiety, and mental health challenges. Imagine gaining a new lens through which to view your experiences, a lens that allows you to identify patterns, understand triggers, and develop healthier coping strategies. This understanding can be incredibly empowering, enabling you to take control of your mental well-being. Remember, seeking professional help is not a sign of weakness, but a testament to your commitment to personal growth and healing. Just as you wouldn't hesitate to see a doctor for a physical ailment, seeking support for your mental health is equally important. Thank you for joining me on this enlightening exploration of defense mechanisms and their impact on our mental well-being. I hope this journey has provided you with valuable insights and a deeper understanding of these complex psychological processes. If you found this video helpful, please give a thumbs up and consider sharing it with your friends, family, or anyone who might benefit from this knowledge. Remember, knowledge is empowering, and by sharing these insights, we can contribute to a more compassionate and understanding world. Don't forget to subscribe to SciEdu Insights for more thought-provoking content on psychology, mental health, and personal growth. Together, let's continue to explore the fascinating world within and unlock our full potential for well-being.